This video is proudly sponsored by Gamersgate. Download games anytime, anywhere. Visit Gamersgate.com.
Welcome to Elder Geeks Elder Speak. Today is Wednesday, April 4th, 2012. My name is Randy Yasenchak. I'm the editor of ElderGeek.com. No one on the show with me today, actually. I originally had Trevor Faulkner on here, but in the middle of him transferring me his audio file, he seemed to have disappeared. So, Trevor, if you're watching this, sorry, my friend, but, you know, that's the way it goes. In the background today, you're actually going to be seeing me play some Resident Evil 2. I didn't want to go any further with showing more of Journey because beyond where I was, it was pretty much the end of the game. And so, I mean, that was it. It's a very short game. It's a really well put together game, and it's an awesome game, but incredibly short. Short news day today. Surprise, surprise. But I guess in other good news, you know, before I actually get to the news, today we released our video review for Grimrock. Or I should say Legend of Grimrock, which is an awesome dungeon crawler by Almost Human. I would actually show gameplay footage for that game instead of, say, Resident Evil 2, but I truly feel that anybody who is interested in this game should honestly avoid going to any walkthroughs or any video reviews that might be giving in too much detail, because so much of the satisfaction from that game comes from figuring out the puzzles and everything for yourself, and the puzzles are hard right from the start. So I would honestly say, you know, go to the reviewers that you trust and only stick with them, but don't go too much further than that, because you really want to keep it as fresh of an experience as you can for yourself. Anyway, in the news today, I've been actually following this story with everybody for a little while now, and I kind of like this story. The Consumerist came forward today. They released their worst company in America. They did a bracket, March Madness style, and EA has been crowned as the worst company in America for 2012, and they were awarded the 2012 Golden Poo. Now, I was actually making comments before saying that Walmart and Bank of America were actually more evil companies than EA, which I still stand by. However, EA, as someone actually pointed out, is supposed to be in the business of entertainment, and they're supposed to be in the business of actually making people happier. But they're actually doing the exact opposite of that. They're actually disappointing people through customer service and through their practices of over manhandling their developers. So I think that's why EA won this year. EA has actually responded and basically said, meh, you know, they really didn't. They brushed it off. They basically had said that that there are arms dealers and that there are, you know, corrupt banks out there that are much worse than themselves, and they try to do their best to listen to their consumers' needs. But that's that. Congratulations, I guess I should say, are in order for EA for being crowned the 2012 Worst Company in America award. That was a little bit of a fun project. I hope they learned something from this, but they probably won't. Based on their responses, it seems as though they're just going to kind of ignore it. Coming up next is The Way of the Samurai 4 is coming exclusively to the PlayStation 3. Now, I personally have never played Way of the Samurai before, but based on the screenshots and based on what I've actually read about this, it looks like a really cool game, and I'm now officially putting it on my anticipated, you know, list for myself. It looks like it's got a nice blend of wacky and you know, classic swordplay. So consider me interested. So, but that's it looks like it's on its way. It's going to be a PS3 exclusive. Let's see. One final bit of news today. Ghost Recon Future Soldier PC specs were released, and they actually gave some announcement dates. It looks like June 12th in North America, June 15th in the UK is going to be Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Now, in terms of the specs, the recommended configuration, so this is the high-end specs. They're asking for a CPU Intel Quad Q9 9450 or an AM Phenom 2 X4 940 or higher. I wish they would just say what clock speed those were, because off the top of my head I don't know what the Quad 9450 is. But since it's an Intel Core 2 quad, it's probably not that fast. In terms of RAM, they expect 2 GB for Windows XP and 3 for Vista and 7. And for a graphics card, they want an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 460 or an AMD HD 5850 or better, which those are actually pretty low-end specs. Most machines probably within the past couple of years are going to be able to push that on the recommended requirements. Now, the minimum requirements are actually a lot lower than that. They're saying an Intel Pentium D processor with a 3.0 in it, and an Intel Athlon 64 2.2 gigahertz. So that's remarkably low operating specs, I think, for a game of what I'm hoping is to be a pretty... I'm hoping it's going to be a pretty good game. I personally am a little bit more excited about Ghost Recon games because growing a little tired of first-person shooters. I'm not saying I dislike first-person shooters, but I am growing a little bit tired of them, and I do enjoy games that involve a little bit more tactics. Even though I'm a little bit of a tactical dunderhead, I enjoy this type of gameplay. But that's it as far as news goes today. I actually had some really interesting responses from the video yesterday about the Wii U not being the powerhouse that we were all kind of hoping it to be, or the Wii U being more powerful, I should just say, than the PS3 and the 360. Had a couple of pretty good responses. Gonbu wrote, I would not be surprised if Nintendo tanks in their next console. I think what needs to be done now is that Sega is apparently going to go back into hardware, is let them do the consoles, with Nintendo focusing on software in some kind of 50-50 partnership. That's pretty interesting, Gonbu. Or Gonbu, I should say. Doyle of Death actually writes, people rely too much on graphics these days. Graphics whores everywhere. It's the game content and the gameplay that matters. There are some 8-bit games that are better than horrible shooters we have today. I fear that there aren't many true gamers out there in this new generation. Now, I don't know if I would go that far, Doyle of Death, but I actually understand where you're coming from. I personally feel that there is a difference between the 8-bit generations and so on and so forth all the way up until now. I'm a little bit of a mix of both. I totally understand when games have less than awesome graphics but are still fantastically fun. Believe me, we review a ton of them on EG. But at the same time, I still really enjoy those bleeding, cutting-edge graphical games. I love knowing that my PC can push them. I like actually seeing where technologically we've actually gone. But at the same time, I totally appreciate gameplay-heavy games, and I guess I appreciate most when games get an awesome balance of the two. I think the argument that you make about 8-bit generation and 16-bit generation, or I guess I should just say 8-bit generation versus current day, I think it's a different type of experience that 8-bit gamers got back in the 80s versus the games that we actually play right now. Back when we were playing like Dragon Warrior, which I'm probably going to be using that game as references quite a bit, but Dragon Warrior 1 was one of my favorite, and probably still is one of my favorite RPGs. But I think what I loved about it so much was that its simplicity, its 8-bit simplicity, mentally I was able to fill in all the gaps that I was not able to see in pixels with my imagination. So it was almost like it was part book and part game, and that's what I kind of loved about it. And as we are becoming more and more technologically advanced and our graphics are getting better and better and better, the need for my imagination to play any sort of role within video games is becoming less and less and less. Part of me really likes that. Part of me enjoys the fact that I'm seeing exactly what the developer wants, but at the same time, part of me really wants to be able to imagine what they might want. Part of me wants to actually mentally project into the game itself and see, you know, have me fill in the needs, my own personal needs for the game. Anyway, those are my 2 cents. What are your 2 cents? That was actually, I think, a pretty good question. Is this balance of graphics versus gameplay? Considering last year we just had this huge influx of awesome and very successful indie games, where do you personally stand on this? Do you really enjoy the push in graphics, or do you want us to kind of stop with the pushing of the graphics envelope and try to focus more on innovative gameplay, etc., etc.? So that's my question for you all today. Thanks everybody for the comments from yesterday, and once again, be sure to check out our video review for Grimrock, which again I just posted up today. If you have any questions, please feel free to send any emails to info@elder-geek.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook or on Twitter, which we have Facebook and Twitter actually linked. And of course, as always, hit us up on elder-geek.com. Like and favorite this video, etc., etc., and I will talk to you all tomorrow.